All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live here on the YouTube channel for everyone that's going to be watching here on the replay. Beautiful Sunday afternoon in Southern Oregon, sitting here in the race shop where I've actually done a couple of live streams before with the garage door in the background. I'm looking at all my sprint cars. My dad, he's been working hard all weekend. He's finishing up some stuff on one of our cars. We have another one. I'm fully complete, ready to hit the racetrack, kind of just touching up things here at THR as we get ready to begin our 2023 sprint car campaign. Can't tell you how excited I am to do that. It's been a long winter. We've done a lot of racing, had some big things happen. I actually just it was funny. I put out a post on Facebook not that long ago, and I was kind of looking back what we did this winter and how many kart races we ran. It's almost forget somehow that we did the Chili Bowl and did that with CB Industries and ran a midget for the first time. And now when people ask me that question, like, have you ran a midget? I can say yes and talk about that experience. For a while, I've been asked that several times and always, had to say no, but, always wanted an opportunity and glad that it all, got put together. And then, like I said, ran a lot of outlaw kart races up here in Oregon. Shows like the Timber 50, Turkey Shootout, Winter Showdown. We ran that outlaw kart race in Oklahoma, which we won, and then ran several shows, down at Red Bluff in Northern California with Factory QRC. So between the two karts, won a bunch of races and had so much fun. And the purpose for that is staying in the seat and getting the chance to race. And then also, for me, it's just taking advantage of the opportunity, getting to work with Factory QRC and Jimmy Elledge. He's like a second father in my life, and I have such a great relationship with him. And it's always, just fun to race with them. So winter's complete. And now that's what this live stream is going to be, mainly about talking about this upcoming season, answering your guys' questions, what it all looks like for us. But what I want you to do, looking at the chat here, drop where are you from? Where are you watching this? What's the closest dirt track, to your residence, to your race shop? Where do you race at on a weekly basis? I know that everything's kind of, starting to kind of get underway, across the country. Obviously, Florida started racing first. They ran, end of January, beginning of February. They tried to run a little bit. And now it seems like the whole United States is kind of on the same playing field of just trying to race when the weather cooperates. It's really interesting, out here in the Northwest, we're one of the last places that's going to open up for racing. I would say end of April, beginning of May is always a safe bet, but it's crazy how inconsistent the weather is. One day it'll feel like spring and maybe even summer's here, get into the 60s and feel warm. And it's like you could wear shorts, maybe a little wind. And then the next day it's still trying to snow. It literally tried to snow within the last week here where I'm from. And we're about 2,000 feet of elevation. So we're up a little bit, but we're still getting snow. It's raining a bunch. Everything is wet. Grounds are saturated. So all of our local racing is probably a little bit away. Checking out where you guys are from. We got Knoxville, Iowa, Castrol Raceway, Arizona, Texas, Posse, more Texas, New York, got Port Royal, West Virginia, all sorts of cool stuff. So thank you guys so much all for, tuning in to all the people here in the States. I know we have some international people watching as well. And you can just go ahead and start dropping questions in the chat. I'm going to do my best to try to get to everyone and answer, what you guys are wanting to know. I guess to get started to talk about our upcoming season, I dropped a video talking about the schedule, but our goal is to run anywhere from, I think our schedule we put out is about 63 or 64 races. We already had a couple rain. We already had one rain out, and I guess this last weekend got rained out. So we've already had three rain outs to start the year. The Tulare show with High Limit, which will not be rescheduled. And then this last weekend, we were supposed to run Ocean Speedway in Stockton. Both of those were a wash. So we're already -3, but I think there's a good chance we get 45 to 50 races in by the time it all kind of shakes out with the wing sprint car, and that's anywhere from the Canadian border just about all the way down to Southern California. When you talk about places like Skagit, and then you start working all the way down to Tulare, California, Hanford. I mean, you still have several more hours, I guess, until Mexico, but you're pretty much using the whole West Coast. And then if everything goes right, we also want to head towards the Midwest, run Knoxville, run Huset's, run some of the tracks around there with the All Stars, have a couple outlaw races, and also too, we just put out a schedule and things change on the go. Like there could be other tracks that we end up going to back there. Things change, rainouts, weather. All of a sudden, you find yourself here instead of there. But kind of be back in that area and just try to hit all the racing that we can. Someone asked, are you guys going to be at Cycland's first points race? So Cycland's an outlaw kart track just about an hour south of Red Bluff. So my plan this summer is I'm not doing any outlaw kart shows. I mean, unless something happens on the fly, and like I said, all my sprint car stuff's rained out, or something crazy happens. But don't plan on running any outlaw kart stuff. Mainly 100% focused on the sprint car, and we'll pick back up at the kart stuff, when all the sprint car stuff's done. And, like I said, that's just kind of our fun thing to do in the winter. But in summertime, it's serious, serious wing stuff and trying to race as much as we can, even if we have to travel a little bit more. I know there's a couple races I might be at. Our local track, the Southern Oregon Speedway, is trying to do some kart stuff. So if I'm home on a Friday and they're racing, I definitely want to go out there and support and just hang out, walk around, talk to people, try to help that karting community grow in some way if there's something I could contribute. But for the most part, 98% chance I'm not going to be at probably a single kart race for most of the summer. Someone said, how fast can you say ka-chow? That's funny. Wayne asked, are you coming to Ohio at all? I do not have any plans on coming to Ohio at the moment. I would like to. There is talks that we could possibly change our schedule and do the million. So like that's not out of the question by any means. We're not saying yes or no. We're just going to kind of see where we're at. But that would be really cool to run Eldora. That's one of the few tracks in Ohio I didn't do since I ran Speed Week in 2021, and it just sucks how everything lines up. So out here, with the Dirt Cup, which is our big race. It's $62,000 to win this year. It was 50 grand last year. I think we ran 11th and it paid $3,100. Great payout throughout the field. Pays good to start. You run up front. You make a little bit of cash. But that all kind of falls around Ohio Speed Week. So like we would love to be out there and running Speed Week and stuff and give that a shot again, or plan something around that and make that a part of our Midwest trip. But it's just tough when you can run 8 410 shows in 10 days, all at tracks we're familiar with, and have probably a much better shot at, pulling something off, winning a race, running up front, being in contention, than going out there. Granted, yes, the competition you would say is better out there. I think both have their strengths and weaknesses, but you get what I'm kind of saying. Like one's in your backyard and you have all your Northwest fans. It's like our biggest, 10-day stretch of the year where fans are going to be traveling and kind of get the vibe of what you guys have out there, where you have, the more speed weeks and bigger shows. I'm going to pull some of these questions up on my phone, make it a little bit easier to read. I'd also be curious to know from all of you guys, what did your weekends look like? Did you guys get the chance to go racing? I know some places got in, some places rained out. Basically, out here in on the West Coast, I don't think there was really much. Maybe there was a non-wing show down in Southern California. I don't think there was a single wing race at all. Chance said, "Hey Tanner, are you going to race High Limit on April 11th at Lakeside?" I'm very jealous that I don't get to. Unfortunately, I will not, but I'm very jealous I don't, because that's one of my favorite racetracks, and I think that could be one of the best High Limit shows of the year. The concept of High Limit is really cool. How they're going to places that put on great racing and maybe can't get an outlaw show, can't get an all-star show, and have that idea in mind of they're just hitting the best places that are going to be really fun to watch. Dominic said, would you consider getting your own midget? So I guess if like money was not a factor, I would tell you yes. I think it'd be awesome to have a midget and get to do that. The main thing out here, obviously, there's just not a lot of midget racing. If there was more of it, I think that would definitely be a consideration. But I don't know. I think I just need to run them more to see how much more I would like that than a wing sprint car. I think I'm really in love with the wing stuff and sprint car racing in general. So I don't think I would want to go the midget route. I think they're great. They're fun. They're exciting as can be, from the grandstands, and they're exciting to race. But at the same time, they do kind of have the little bit of the go-kart feel. So I don't know. To me, I feel like the wing sprint car is where I would want to stay. And even if I had, if I was in the Midwest and had more midget racing around me, I'd probably still try to stick with the wing stuff. If you're trying to make a career out of it, it's more the way to go to, purse-wise, payout, probably more opportunities. The midgets just have a different setup with getting an opportunity, and a lot more big teams with a lot of cars versus, the wing stuff is a lot more solo operations. DB said, will you be running more 410 shows this year? Yeah, I think this year we probably have more 410 races than maybe ever before. There's also more opportunity to run 410s out where I'm from than ever before, between Skagit and Washington having some local 410 stuff as well as their big shows and the outlaw races. Oregon has a couple nights when KWS rolls through, which is exciting. And they're probably a little bit better time when they're less chance to get rained out. And then California has, more than ever before. Chad said, Tanner, and Shout out to Chad. He's been a big fan for a while, always keeping up to what I do. He said, Tanner, I want to see you on a Silver Crown race. So that would be incredible. I can't remember. I was just on a podcast recently, and they asked, what's a type of car that you would love to run that you've never ran before, and that would just be incredible. And I said Silver Crown car. My good friend Logan Seavey, he runs them. He talks really highly about racing them and how much more fun they are than are, I can't quote him 100%, but he always talked about how much fun they are compared to non-wing sprint cars and midget racing, and how they're just a blast. They have a little bit of a different strategy, longer races. You have asphalt and dirt, so you have guys that are good on one and good on the other, or maybe good at both. So Garrett said, "You gonna try and run any non-wing races at all this year?" So right now, I don't have anything planned. I've always wanted to try to give non-wing racing a shot. I probably actually live in a good area to give it a shot, in the sense of there's not as much. I mean, there's good competition in the Northwest, but there's a lower car count, I guess. Versus if you're in Indiana, you're going to run against all the best non-wing studs in the country. But out here in the Northwest, we just have one series that kind of races, and there's some good guys, but probably be better for me to go run with them and just try it and see what happens, and no one would ever know if that kind of makes any sense. But got some cool tracks I know for non-wing cars. Willamette is a notable one that I a couple hours north of my shop that I know puts on a really really good show. So maybe one of these days, getting a non, or make our, I guess you could say, make our own setup non-wing. And I have a good friend named Kyle Miller who dominated the area, and I always told him that if I ever run non-wing, I need him to help me set up the car. So if I had some help and stuff, I might not be too bad once I get going. Uh, Question came in: Narc at Antioch at the end of the month, or Chico at the beginning of May? So I think on our schedule we have no Antioch at the end of the month. Unfortunately, I think there's a race up here, but we do have Chico beginning of May. We'll be there for 2 nights with the 410 sprint cars. One other cool thing I saw a couple people dropping. Make sure to drop in the chat what you guys race. If you're, outlaw carts, micros, it could be Hornets, wing sprint cars, non-wing, midgets, whatever you run. I'd love to know in the comment section down below. Be really, really neat to hear. And I do appreciate everyone just tuning into the live stream and checking out what we're doing on this Sunday afternoon. Like I said, my dad's been working really hard. He's been walking right here behind the camera, getting the 18T all ready to go. We just dropped, like I said, our car for next weekend's fully ready to hit the track. Um, One of our other cars also, we just got an engine in it today. It's probably about 75% ready to roll. We got to put the body on it, got to finish up a couple things in the engine compartment, and get a top wing on, and it will be ready as well. So we have almost two cars finished, and then our spare is also, I guess you could say almost three done, but our spare is also basically ready to roll. But right now it's kind of over in the corner while we're working on some other projects. So I get this all the time. This is a good thing to touch on. I always get my international fans. I had a comment that you should come to New Zealand and race this winter, which is something I really want to do. Buddies with Joel Myers Jr. I know he's down there in New Zealand right now, and he's having a lot of success. And it seems like there's a lot of cool tracks down there and in Australia. Not to leave you guys out, I know Rapuna in New Zealand. Of course, Western Springs is a legendary track. Would love to hit those two, and there's a couple others that I've seen, but I always kind of forget their names. And then in Australia, I mean, Eastern Creek, I've seen that place. I've seen a little bit from there. Of course, there's Premier, and there's some other tracks that just look like they're nuts. So one day, love to get down there and give them a shot. Question, Tanner, thanks for making the videos. I appreciate it. Are you and Carly going to be running some of the same races? Yeah, I haven't put out Carly's schedule yet, and we kind of went over it and have like a rough idea on our head, but things are just kind of changing. So I didn't want to put something out that wasn't 100% legit if it changed too much. So I'm kind of still finishing that up. But yeah, like there's a lot of 360 shows that hopefully we'll both be at. Like Douglas County, there's a track, Roseburg. We're both going to run that. There's a race coming up at the end of April. And then I think there's some shows in May, June a little bit, and then kind of also at the end of the year there's like a speed week. It's called Speed Week South, I believe, which is with Western Sprint Tour, and we're gonna run like all those nights together, hopefully, and then some other just weekly shows. Carly's gonna run mainly all Pacific Northwest stuff, and then a little bit in Northern California, maybe Chico, and a couple of tracks a little farther south than that. Keep the questions rolling in. Like I said, I appreciate you guys all watching. Garrett said, "Are you ever going to bring back the channel members thing back? Potentially in the future. Something I've kind of went back and forth with, but lately haven't really put a whole lot of thought into it." Chance said, when is Carly's first race? Carly's first race is hopefully going to be here in about just about 2 weeks. Like I said, Douglas County Dirt Track, which is going to be a big show. I'm so excited. I haven't talked too much, I guess, about that place. We had a video on it when I ran the dwarf car. When I ran a dwarf car for the first time not that long ago, but the new dirt track in Roseburg, Oregon, which basically was an asphalt track that they put dirt on top of, and it's going to be incredible. It can hold like 7,000 people in the grandstands. They actually had a little monster truck event there this weekend, and it was packed. So if there's one place to keep an eye on in the state of Oregon, which is not the most well known for dirt racing, it would be that place because there's some 360 shows there. NARC has a stop, so going to be really, really impressive. Had a comment from Last 1K. What do you think of EMI shutting down? If you had a wild guess, what do you think the guys running them are going to switch to? That's a great question. Yeah, that's kind of been the talk here lately in the sprint car world, I guess, or what I've seen a little bit on social media with EMI, Eagle shutting down. They're no longer going to be making frames. And I don't know, I can't speak too much on the subject. I don't know a whole lot about the ins and outs on why, or haven't heard any reasons or what the rumor would be. But really unfortunate to lose, one of the top people that obviously make really good quality cars. So what are they going to switch to? I would say there's a good chance they could just go to Maxim. Maxim's very, very popular, very universal cars. So that would probably be my guess. But in the sprint car world, there's also a gazillion manufacturers and frames that guys run and give shots to. What's cool about the sprint car world, I think, is that there is so many options, and they are all just cars, and they all kind of, I think you can make any of them go fast. It's just the right combination with the right guy setting up and the right guy driving the car, and figuring out where that sweet spot is. I do think it's fair to say that some cars have a smaller and larger setup window, but they are all cars, and like I said, you're just bolting components to them. But at the same time, there is importance to it. So I don't want to make it seem like it doesn't matter the frame you run, but I think they all just kind of take a different recipe, you could say, to make go fast. A question came in: are we going to be racing Knoxville this year? Yes, our plan is to hopefully get about 10 shows in at Knoxville this year between the local shows and then all the nights of nationals and the Capitani Classic. I believe it's like between 8 and 10. So that's going to be really, really big. Good friend of mine, Mike Semantis, we're friends with their family. He said, Hanford next weekend, favorite ice cream flavor at the track. We will have it ready. Those guys always bring me ice cream. I wish I could remember the place you guys stop at. I would say it here on the stream, but just a big chocolate guy. I mean, it's hard to go wrong with ice cream with chocolate. I always love chocolate chip mint as well. A lot of people hate on me for that. That's not always the most popular. So if you guys are watching, drop your favorite ice cream flavor in the chat. I will also actually say, too, not to get too technical on you with ice cream, but I personally love soft serve, probably even more. Big soft serve guy. Nothing beats a swirl cone. Okay, Mike said it's Superior Dairy. That's it. You guys are in Hanford. You need to stop there. It's incredible. Let's see. Lucas said, is Carly going to be running any 410 stuff this year? Potentially. We're going to kind of let her run the 360 stuff and get going, and definitely don't want to rush her into it. But, you never really know. The nice thing is we do have some 410 races close to home that we're not sure if they're going to draw a bunch of cars. That makes sense. It's a good chance for her to go out and get some laps. So we're just going to kind of keep it in the back of our minds, but nothing set in stone. Aiden said, any tips for a 15-year-old flat cart racer that has been racing for 8 years and wants to move into big cars that just doesn't have the money? So I made a video on this kind of recently and was talking about, what to do to move up in the sport. And, racing's really, really difficult compared to everything else. It's just tough to work your way up through the ladder, especially when you don't have any financial backing, just because it's, I mean, this whole sport is driven by money, sponsorship, people being involved and whatnot. So I always say the best thing you can do is get involved and even at a younger age. It sounds a little bit crazy, but you kind of just have to be bold. You have to be brave. You have nothing to lose, so you have to put yourself out there. So I recommend going to the races, trying to, meet the drivers, have them become familiar with who you are, be a basic fan at first, and then try to, offer to help a team. Find a team that seems like they're friendly, the driver's cool, maybe you enjoy watching him. And at some point, you just gotta be like, hey, is there any way, I can just come and scrape mud and I just stand back and love to learn, because that's a very valuable thing. If you can learn how to work on the race cars and make the cars go fast in the long run, like that's something that's really can help you move up, I guess you could say. But just it's all about connections, networking, and there's a couple different avenues you could go. But I would say start and just try to become familiar with the people in the atmosphere and in the class that you wanna be in, because like I said, racing is all about who you know. But I made a whole video on it. You should go watch it. It's much better than what I just said. But yeah, that's what I would recommend. Just it's all about connections, networking, who you know, because realistically in racing, you could have a driver that everyone would say, let's say they're not that good, for example, right? But if they know someone that has the financial backing to take them all the way to the top, one, they're probably actually going to become pretty decent or good, because they're going to have more opportunity to race for a longer time to get better. And then also, I mean, they're just like I said, they don't have anything to worry about. They have more financial backing to do it for a really long time. Which nothing against that. That's great, and all of it comes, it's got to come from somewhere, if that makes sense, to make the racing thing happen. Whether that's family, sponsors, just someone, I know drivers that they just know that one guy that helped them, and that's great. So it's got to come from somewhere, and that's just kind of how the sports ran. But we're all thankful to get to do this, and no matter how you get to do it, we're all there, and we're all competing for wins. Once again, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me on this Sunday. There's so many questions coming in, and it's hard to answer them all. So just keep sending them in, and I'll do my best to try to get to all of them. But it is difficult. We had one come in for Fire Swamp Racing. Thank you for dropping a donation. He said, "You ready to drive a Northeast modified? We have a seat waiting for you." That that's flattering. I would love to drive a Northeast modified. I'd love to just drive anything. I always tell people it's in racing, I think as drivers, like it's when you're watching all these other classes, like support divisions or other people racing on the same nights as you wonder like, hey, I wonder what I could do if I was in one of those cars. Or and that's even like we have the NASCAR race playing, and we were watching the trucks in Xfinity yesterday. And I was like, I wonder how I would do if I was in the best Xfinity or best truck series truck, how I would do against these guys with a couple of races. You're just curious, like how good the competition is. Obviously, it's stellar, but you get what I'm kind of saying. So that's kind of how I feel about all divisions. Like I would love to hop in a late model, I'd love to drive a modified just to see what they feel like, and then also see where I stack up. Like, what if some of us drivers hop in something else, and you realize how much better it suits your driving style, or you end up looking like a superstar in that versus what you try to drive normally. I don't know. It's just interesting. Most time you'll never know, but it is a really cool concept. Cameron Ridgell said, "Who is your favorite NASCAR driver?" This is an obvious one for most, but for people that haven't been following forever, big Kyle Busch fan, love what he does. It's been a Kyle fan forever, and kind of the story behind that is, so back in 2009, when I was just getting into this and getting into racing and whatnot, I watched NASCAR a little bit because that's what my parents watched, so I was watching it, and I was always a Tony Stewart fan. I don't know what caught my attention with him or what it was, or was it Home Depot and the orange car was just bright as can be? I don't know. But I was watching a race, and it was at Watkins Glen, I think. Yeah, I think it was Watkins Glen. And Tony was running second. He was behind Kyle Busch. Kyle ended up winning the race in '08 or '09 or 2010, somewhere in there. And basically, when Kyle got out and did his donuts and did the bow, I was like, that guy just beat my favorite driver. He's now my favorite driver. And so that's kind of how the Kyle Busch fan came about. And ever since then, I became 18. I been a fan for life. So ride or die through all the good, through all the bad, through all the ups and downs, from getting fired from, or let go from Joe Gibbs Racing, and now at RCR, and been a fan for life and always wanting him to succeed. My good buddy Kevin Hilgendorf, he's dropping in the chat. He said he's a big fan. Good to see you, Kevin. I'll probably see you at the track this summer a bunch. We had a question. Would you ever consider coming to PA to race events like Speed Week, their month of money shows, Tuscarora 50, Dirt Classic, National Open? I definitely would. PA, the tough part about hitting the different parts of the country, like Pennsylvania, where they have a lot going on, is just the timing of the year. I think that it's more just going out and doing it. The tough part about that, it's at the end of the year. So if you're in the Midwest, it makes more sense. Coming from the West Coast, it is difficult, especially when you start getting to that sketchier time when those could get rained out. But yeah, I would absolutely love to. Like, you don't even know how cool it would be to be at the Tuscarora 50, National Open, run Williams Grove, run Port Royal. Like, it's never that we've never wanted to go out there. Like, it's one of my dreams to race in Pennsylvania and race Ohio and race those areas. It's just putting it all together. So, like, in a perfect world, I would love to move to the Midwest and be more centrally located and get to run all those tracks, from Knoxville to Williams Grove in central PA, like that area of what it's 10, 12. No, it's way longer than that. It's probably 15, 16-hour difference somewhere in there. I don't know, but it would be cool to be able to run everywhere in between that and then north and south several hours. So to be centrally located back there would be like a dream come true and just get to race. Julian said, thanks for always posting and putting a smile on my face because my hip's been acting up for a long time. It hurts. I'm sorry to hear that. I appreciate. Thank you so much for saying that. And like I said, thank you so much all for tuning in. I wish you guys knew how much it means to me that I get to do this and get to race and get to talk to you and have a community here. It really, I feel grateful every single day. So I just want you guys to know that. Question from Kyle and then also from Corey. Are you going to be racing in Texas? Going to be racing in Indiana? So I don't think I have anywhere in Texas, and I don't think I have anywhere in Indiana, but I'm going to be close in those areas. So, yeah, unfortunately, I don't think so. I did watch Devil's Bowl last night. Speaking of Texas, kind of an interesting track. Was really, really fast and not a lot of passing, but nevertheless, a good show and cool to see James McFadden get the win and do his shoey. I know when we were watching that, we're like, dang, this is about to be really, really cool as he's about to dump the alcohol in his shoe and then drink it. We did have another question from last 1K. What's the current location of the Kinzer wing? So, story, he gave me a signed Steve Kinzer wing, like off his car with the signature. And it's actually still down in what was our podcast studio, which I'm going to use that room for something. Unfortunately, the podcast is not going right now and we're not doing that. And that's just how life went. It was really fun shooting it while we did, but life just got too crazy. And I don't like to do things half percent. Like if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do 100%. I don't like to do it 50%, but I still have that wing and I'm going to, right now it's in the studio, but as we are renovating and moving some things around, I'd like to put it here in the shop or even move it into my room where I shoot some footage and stuff to have in the background. Is such a cool item. I mean, a Steve Kinzer signed front wing. What a gem. And very thankful that you gifted that to our team. Bryce Moody did drop a question. He said, hi, Tanner. I'm your number one NorCal fan. Bryce, big fan. Him and our family have became close friends. Trophy Cup, some other races in California. They've seen some of our really cool moments and always get to catch up after the races. They've also came up to Dirt Cup and Summer Nationals. I think it was really cool to always see them. Can't wait to see you in Chico. Have you ever considered racing Marysville? So yeah, Marysville, we almost ended up there. I think whenever they had a race makeup out of nowhere, we kind of wanted to make the trip, but Marysville, honestly, it's one of those tracks that we've wanted to have a shot at running, but it just never worked out on our schedule. So it's one of those places this year we're going to keep our eye on as weather's changing, and our plans change potentially on certain weekends. If they're running, weekly 360s, that's a good place too, where Carly can also run on the same night. It's not super, super far from home, just, a little bit farther south of Red Bluff and I think off I-5. So definitely a place that we could be at in 2023 and trying to get some laps and chasing a win. Aiden said, are you going to run the Huset's High Bank Nationals? I might have to come and scrape mud. Aiden, if I was there, I would love to have you come scrape mud. Unfortunately, though, that's the same weekend as the Dirt Cup. So that's what I was talking about, where some of these big races conflict with our West Coast shows. Now, some of you are going to say I'm dumb because I think that race pays 250 grand to win and, Skagit's 62 grand to win, where you'd say, well, which one's better? But also one's halfway across the country and one's, just, I wouldn't say up the road, but one state north of me. And then also, one you're going up against an outlaw caliber field, and then one's just a really good West Coast field with a couple national stars. So, I mean, they're both great. It's great that I think it's cool that both are competing, and that I think what's cool about the Dirt Cup, being honest, is that it isn't a World of Outlaw or an all-star show, because I think it's really cool when a local guy wins a lot of money or, a local star, West Coast star. Same would go if this race was on the East Coast or wherever. Like, it's cool when there's races that someone gets to shine that's not an outlaw or stuff. Don't get me wrong. We want to see the best race possible. We want to see the best competition. But I think that's like what's neat about the late model world is there's a lot of money everywhere and it's kind of spread throughout the whole class. Good friend Jeff, he said, yeah, well, I've got a Tanner Holmes signed nose wing on my shop wall. Hey, I appreciate that, Jeff. Hopefully one day it'll be as notable as having a Steve Kinzer one. Austin said, how did you like I-30 in Little Rock, Arkansas? First off, really sad that I-30's gone. It was a place that I kind of struggled at the one night I ran there, but I could see how it's a really cool racetrack and puts on a great show. just super exciting for 360 racing. Short track nationals is such a notable event. So many people, love to watch. Big fan base down there. And there's some other cool tracks in the area. There's I think what's it called, the Ditch, West Memphis, another place in that area. I never got to run that. Hopefully one day I'll get to. But yeah, so just love Little Rock. Love being in the area. Only thing I hated was the humidity. Absolutely was terrible for a West Coast guy like me because we don't have that out here. But it was really hot, but it was a really fun speed week when I got to run with ASCS, and I think that was 2020. Let's see. Ted says, "Are you going to run Chili Bowl this year?" Plan is to run Chili Bowl again. No plan set in stone, but really, really hoping to get to do so. Kevin said, "Are you going to consider moving to the world of Outlaws?" That's one of those deals, man. It's like you never really know. You just hope the right opportunity arises, or something comes about, or maybe one day, if everything grew to the level we hoped, we would go world of outlaw racing with my family team. But like I said, one of those deals you just never ever really know. Let's see. Alan said, "When are you going to pick for the Tanner Holmes trackside experience?" Okay, so touch on this real quick. A great topic, especially with everyone in here. So Tanner Holmes trackside experience, it's something new we're doing this year. I'm kind of experimenting with. Basically, what it is if you want to learn how to create the content that we create, you see here on YouTube, you see on all of our social media platforms, you want to be a part of our team for that night. Like you're on the team. If we're in victory lane, you're in victory lane. Uh, Come on out. We buy your pit pass. We feed you, keep you hydrated, you get a crew shirt, and you're going to help us, film some of that content, whether it's for the vlog. We're going to show you how to post on our social media. All really simple posts, nothing crazy. Just how to make a post on social media. That's all you got to be able to do, I guess. But yeah, and how it will work is you'll show up to the track, hopefully a little bit early, and kind of give you a quick 10-minute training session. And then also earlier in the week, I'll have a whole sheet and rundown on what it will look like. So you're already prepared when you get to the track. Super simple, and just help us create some of the content, because it's really hard as I'm trying to become a race car driver to do both. So I want to be a race car driver. That's what I want to do. And then I'll still do some of the vlog stuff, of course, like I always would. And then I'll have a helper there. And, that's kind of how it is now with some of my, Carly sometimes gets shots, or someone's always kind of helping me a little bit, but it's all just on the fly. So if you guys want to be a part of the team, get that experience, help out, that's kind of, what it's going to be. And just really, really cool to have you guys there and, learning how we do it. So it's great experience for you guys as well. And like I said, if we're in victory lane, you're in victory lane. Let's see. Someone said, "Too bad you couldn't fit Lakeside in." I know. I'm really sad that I couldn't get to Lakeside this year. It's a great track. Oh, this is a good question for any of the kart guys in here. Someone asked for Cycleland tips. So Cycleland Speedway, very, very tricky track. One of the best, overall for racing in the Northern California area in the United States for karts. The main thing there, what I was taught when I first ran, is you got two lines. As the racetrack widens out, you have the bottom, and you got to slow down a lot to hit the bottom. And when you run the top, you got to hustle. So you basically pick one or the other, and you stay out of the slick, because the slick in the middle, one, it's really slow, but it's easy to crash, spin out. You just avoid that area. If you run the bottom, you're going to feel like you're going slower than you ever have, but slow is fast. And if you're running the top, you're going to be on a bucking bronco, just holding on. So that's what I would recommend. Ooh, this is a good question. Nick said new colors this year. You guys are gonna have to stay tuned. Later this week, we will be dropping the new scheme. It's probably not what you would be expecting, but I personally love it. It's more my style. Yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. It's more my style. So really, in my opinion, really cool. And looks clean and looks good, and it's gonna show up on the track, and a great way to represent all of our partners. This year we have a lot of great partners that are gonna be helping us out. And yeah, I don't want to give away too much. You guys, you can't even pressure me to give away too much. I don't want to say too much here. Mo said, "Are you ever going to bring back your podcast?" Yeah, I was touching on that a little bit earlier. I'm disappointed with how that all went. Bennett and I, we just have so much going on. It's hard to do a show together. Just as our lives are, we're like this, but we're also kind of going away from each other, just because, we just live so far apart. And now, like, the world's a little bit more back to normal. When we started all that, it was kind of during pandemic, and there was more time on our hands, and we were hanging out a lot more, and we just, everything was different for those 2.5, 3 years, right? So now as things are kind of more back to normal, it's just tough. And I don't like to do things 50% of the way. I like to give it 100% effort. So for me, it just didn't feel right. And it just wasn't working. We had great shows when we did, but I hate missing weeks and not doing things right. So right now I'm just so dedicated to the channel and you guys and our race team that this is what I want to focus on. And I want to kill it with this and do well and be accountable for you guys and, not spread myself too thin. Aiden said, are you planning on running Cedar Lake in 2023? Unfortunately, I don't have any plans to run there. Brett Jones said, hey, Tanner, will you ever come to Louisiana and race? I don't have any plans to run Louisiana. I did have someone that had an Outlaw cart that was hoping to get me down there. So maybe one day I'll get my Outlaw cart to Louisiana. It seems like they're having a growing karting scene in that area, which is awesome. Very, very cool. Mo said 2 to go at Richmond and Larson's leading. Oh, yeah, you're actually right. White flag. Pretty cool that Larson won. He should have already had a couple wins this year, and he unfortunately did not. Things just haven't went his way. They've been really fast though. I've definitely tuned into NASCAR more than ever as the cars have changed. It seems like the racing field is a little bit more even, which I love. I mean, I guess that's a good thing, but yeah, Larson just won. But also as Busch moved to RCR and all that, it's just been really cool to watch. So congratulations, Kyle Larson. None of us are surprised. Probably the greatest driver. Personally, I would say the greatest race car driver I have ever witnessed in my whole entire life and ran against. RV Horizons, my good friend from Ohio, miss seeing you out or miss, being out there and having you come to the races. One day I'll get back that area. He said, any plans on racing the I-1, which is the BC Motorsports car that I ran for Brian Crockett, my crew chief? Yeah, that thing's always in the shop ready to go basically. And if, like I said, plans change or things happen and the I-1's ready to go, we might go race. So that's always a possibility and a fun thing kind of for the channel, just to do some local limited racing. As you guys are continuing to send in questions, I did want to show you, I had these here. I was going to put them just in the shot, but some of our new hats that are available online. We got the Oregon 18T hat. So if you guys like snapbacks, we got that one. And then if you like red, Tanner Holmes 18T. Both of these are available on our website, tannerholmes.com/shop. So worth heading over and checking them out if you're needing something to keep your head dry during this time of year or keep the sun off your face. Yeah, both of these are available. So wanted to let you guys know there's a lot of other merchandise. This next week, we're going to have a spring cleaning sale. So if you're looking to get things at a good price, they will be available, as I'm just about to make a little bit of room for all of our new merch that will be showing up with the new car, the new colors, which you will also see this week. Connor said Chili Bowl again. Yes. Yep. Chad said, here comes the celebration burnout. I guess. Oh yeah, he is celebrating. It's going on right up there on the TV. Dad's watching. We all been watching all day. I was hoping Kyle Busch could get it done. I guess also we've been bouncing around. The cool part about these live streams, we get to talk about anything. Let me know, was it fair? Was the Hendrick penalty being reduced to just the money and no points fair? And I want to know your guys' thoughts. Anyway, I was off topic, but I've kind of been reading a lot on that lately. It's really interesting trying to figure out, what the right way would have been to go about that. But really interesting situation that those guys had. Nick said, if you got the opportunity to take a 410 ride in PA, would you take it or stay with your own team? All that stuff really just, the whole ride thing depends on the situation, what it looks like, how many races, what we're going to be running. Of course, too, if you're, taking a ride, moving somewhere, some of the financials of it, what's that look like? And then, like I said, how many races, what's their equipment, how much equipment. The ride deal, I think you definitely try to jump on opportunities because you never know how many are out there. But at the same time, too, it's got to be the right opportunity at the right time, especially if it's somewhere across the country. That usually involves moving, being out there, whether you have to work on the car or not. What's the team like? There's so many factors. So you really just got to investigate and know what the opportunity is. And obviously, if it's a big time ride and they have, all sorts of equipment and cars and money to spend, and it's like your dream and, type deal, you're going to jump on it. But for some of the more like local stuff and you're not really sure, you definitely have to be careful because, we have a great family program here. And, sometimes it's better off to build your own skyscraper than, to go and jump on someone else's skyscraper, and you never know what could happen there. If that does that make sense? So I really like doing our family team deal. It's a great way to do it. It takes a lot. It's draining in a lot of ways, but we get to do it as a family, and we're putting all we have into it. And my family, my father owns all the equipment, and so like we have full control on what we want to do. Where when you race with another team, you are at their mercy of where they want to race, when they want to race, and all the logistics of the program. Someone said, Tanner, what are your thoughts on Jeff Gordon taking over Hendrick Motorsports? I think it's great. I think it's great when people are staying in the sport, and someone that's so high up there like Jeff Gordon. I mean, perfect guy to have that role. Mel said, forget all those famous big tracks. Are you and Carly going to run Sunset Speedway this year? Good question, Mel. I don't think I have it on the schedule, but it's still not out of the question. You just never know what's going to happen. But Sunset, unfortunately, doesn't have a lot of options because they only have like 1 or 2 sprint car races a year. So I wish. I love Sunset. I feel like I'm pretty good there too. It's one of my best tracks. So it sucks they only run there like once or twice a year. But if there was more races, I definitely would be there. Bo Krebs says, I think so because the part wasn't ran during the actual race. That's kind of what I was thinking on the whole Hendrick deal, was the fact that they didn't run it during the race. If they would have ran it, absolutely. But I can see where everyone's coming from since they confiscated it before. Mo said, when do you think you'll get to PA to race? Because, you've been trying for a while now. Like I kind of touched on earlier, I unfortunately don't think so this year, but it's never out of the question. You never know what can happen. But yeah, it's just, you have to factor it into our schedule, and it's just so far away on the other side of the United States. If it was, if that, area of racing was closer, we would be there much sooner than, than how this all has went, right? So I've always said I wanted to get there, and I don't know if maybe I made it seem more real than it was, but yeah, it's tough. So, and I see where some of you are coming from because we did get to Ohio in 2021, but yeah, it's just how that worked out then versus now, and we have a lot more racing on the West Coast too. So the whole thing is just it's tricky. But one day, I promise, I'm sure before I'm done, I'll be in PA. Someone said, any chance you'll run your kart in Oklahoma? Unfortunately, this summer, I don't think so, but I think there's a chance I'll get back there for the the manufacturer's throwdown in January. The plan would be to get back to that. What a great race. 3-day event, a lot of money on the line. We won it. So being the defending champ, it's hard to not obviously, make the trip back there. So we're going to do everything we can to get back to the manufacturer's throwdown, and a really cool racetrack. I'll give a lot of props. The Shawnee Dirt Track, I think it's the heart of Oklahoma Raceway. Killer surface, cushion, smooth as can be, slick, like not really much more you can ask for in a track. So a lot of props to those guys because they actually gave us a great racing surface pretty much every time we hit the speedway. Dreamland said, will you be at Grace Harbor this year? Yeah, we're going to be there in, I think it's June, and middle of June. We will be there for a night or two with the 410. Action Jackson said, if you had the opportunity to run a micro, would you take it, and where would you run? I think Tulsa Shootout would be really cool because you just get to run so much, even not having a lot of micro experience. I think you can go there, and if you're in a good car, you can definitely have a lot of potential and run well. Getting to run winged, A-class, stock non-wing, outlaw wing, and outlaw non-wing. If you could run all 4 of those, I think you're going to have a shot in one of them to run well, hopefully. But at the same time, I'm sure that, that building's very tough, and there's so many cars too. So I'm sure everything could go wrong in all 4 classes as well. But I don't know. I just think maybe you get a good pill draw. You run a good qualifier. You do a couple things right, and you find yourself potentially in the show in one of the 4 classes. At least if you run it year after year, I'm sure here and there. But what a cool event that is, and one I definitely want to get to sometime. Mo just he said High Limit just released their full-time drivers, 23 cars. Wow. That's really impressive. 23 cars running. I guess it's only a 12 race schedule, but still that's very cool. I really want to see High Limit be successful. I think their idea of how they're doing everything is great, and I think that they have a lot of potential, obviously, with the head honcho being Larson and Brad Sweet. They're going to do good things, and they know exactly what the sport needs to be successful. Last one, Kay said, working on collabs with any other dirt YouTube channels. I don't have any right now. I think the hard part about us dirt racing guys is we're also far apart. I'm out here on the West Coast, and there's not as many creators out here. And then, a lot of the other guys, like you mentioned, Hunt the Front. They're out in Florida and down in the South. If I'm ever down there, though, I would love to do something. I think it would be so cool to collab with other dirt racing guys and what we all do and share together. It's very neat, and we have such a love for the sport. I think unlike a lot of don't get me wrong, other content creators love what they do, but for us, like it's a mix of we're creating content about something we do love in dirt racing and all the good and bad around it. So the Hunt the Front guys, for example, they're absolutely killing it. I look up to how they do things, and it's really cool what they've built with all their stuff. So if I was ever down there, I'd love to collab, love to drive a late model, and I'd love for them to drive my wing sprint car or something like that. I think it'd be really, really neat, but maybe one day. Uh, so someone said Joseph wouldn't drive a sprint car. He already had the chance and turned it down. Oh, that's unfortunate. He probably would be pretty good. Honestly, I think racers are good at, racers race. I do think jumping in a wing sprint car is probably one of the more difficult challenges just because of how fast they are and how fast they feel. But like I said, I think most people, not most people, I shouldn't say that, but like really talented race car drivers, after some time, we could probably jump around in multiple cars and you at least get a feel for it. You're not reckless, but yeah, that it would still be cool. Maybe one day they'll change their mind. Someone asked, "Are you going to be back to Willamette Speedway? I felt they did you wrong last time you were there." Yeah, I think I have Willamette on the schedule for a 410 show. How it happened last time we were there, no, I don't really want to get too much into the situation, but yeah, it was an unfortunate event how we ended up losing the race just because of how things happen. But I don't know. We as race car drivers, you have to live and learn and have a short term memory and forget. And also out here on the West Coast, we only have so many options to race. So everyone makes mistakes and things happen. So you just kind of try to put it in the past. And I guess if things don't happen, repeat, I don't know. There's not really a great way to say it, but we will be back. Absolutely. Great racetrack, great surface. And I think it, put on a good show. And especially when we go there with sanctioning bodies and series, things are ran differently than, on a weekly basis because there's different, there's like a DOC, there's a series director, all that. So definitely looking forward to getting back there. I think it's a great racetrack. Alan said, "What are your thoughts on the Thunderbolt Raceway in Tulare?" The Thunderbolt is just one of the craziest racetracks you'll ever see in your whole entire life. It is really impressive if you watch the race there. It's the most intense from qualifying to the A main event that I've ever seen. You have to be up on the wheel, you have to be a gasser, you have to race hard, and you have to go for it. So that's all I really have to say about the Thunderbolt. Mike said, "Us fans appreciate you, the time and effort you put into both the channel and at the track." Appreciate that. I really, really do. We do put a lot into this, and it's so fun to get to meet you guys, hear your stories. One of the greatest things is hearing your guys' stories at the track, where you came from, how your parents raced, how maybe your parents didn't race. How you work at a local business and somehow found out about the races. Like the pathways to how we all have met each other is really incredible. Cameron said, "What is your dream race car to own and drive?" I would say for me, if I could just own my own sprint car team and race with the World of Outlaws or race a big pick and choose schedule, true outlaw schedule, that would be super, super fun. That would be the dream. It'd be really hard to top that. But I also think that, and for me, this will never ever happen. But like watching NASCAR on TV, like I think it's hard to say you would not want to be a NASCAR driver. I mean, how cool it would be to be racing on Sundays, racing on Saturdays, even in the truck series. Think that would be really, really neat. And like I said, it'll never happen for 98% of us, but for the few that get to do it, what a dream come true for them. And just really, really cool. Someone asked, "Would you ever race pavement oval cars?" I think there's a chance that I would definitely run something on pavement. If I had the opportunity, I would love to do it. I think that it's such a different discipline and how much more strategies involved in tires and patience. I can imagine the patience in asphalt racing has got to be crazy. But yeah, one day if I got the chance, I'd love to take it because like it's just like I said, going back to trying the different cars, like it'd just be really, really cool. Oh, Bo Krebs said something really cool about one of my local tracks. He said that Travis Hoppus, which is a promoter at our Southern Oregon Speedway, he said that they're going to get a digital scoreboard, which, that's actually a great topic. I think every track, it's expensive, obviously, but it'd be cool if they do have scoreboards or have something along the lines of that because it's neat to be able to see how the lineup changes, how many laps to go. It's easier for the fans and provides a better experience in that area. So if that's actually the case for our local track, one, that's a huge win. But yeah, I think if most places, like I said, it's not very affordable, but if they can, that's a huge asset and something that improves the viewer experience at the track. Most said if you could pick one, what PA track would you race at? Easy, Port Royal. Nothing beats Port Royal, at least from everything I've seen on TV. Nick said, I know you have a shop at your house and your rig is another location. Would you consider moving everything to one location? Yeah, so it's actually a huge pain how it is for us, unfortunately. But that's just kind of how it goes, what we're dealing with right now and where we live. It's really hard to get an 80-foot rig too. So ideally, yes, everything would want to be in one shop. And I think if we ever were in the Midwest or somewhere, like, of course, everything would be at one location. And for the most part, everything is just minus the trailer, which, like I said, is a pain, but it's part of how things go. Bryce said, I truly enjoy following along with your racing journey. Your family have amazing 2023 sprint car season ready to get it rolling. Thank you, Bryce. Can't wait to see you at the track. Let's see. Who is your favorite NASCAR driver? I just talked about it. Love Kyle Busch. Big fan. That's why I'm number 18T. James said, let Bennett drive your cart. Unfortunately, I don't have my cart anymore because I needed to make room in the shop for all the sprint car stuff, but definitely would like to get Bennett in it again. It's fun. We ran it on the backyard track a couple times and hard to beat the fun and having a backyard track and an outlaw cart combined. I just want to shout out this casual organic format you're doing right now. This is really fun. From last 1K. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Always fun doing this. I kind of do it a couple times a year, usually here and there, and it's kind of fun just to bounce around and talk about different topics and what's going on in the world that we're living in right now, talking about dirt racing. Cash Boss 08 said, hey Tanner, just stopped by today. What's going on? Hope you're having a great day, Cash Boss. Thank you for stopping by. Kyle said you should race at Cam Cartway. I've always seen great things about Cam Cartway. One of those places I would love to get to. So maybe one day in the future. If you had to pick one track in Indiana where you would run, where would it be? Gosh, that's going to take me some thinking. For wing cars, Lawrenceburg's very impressive. I think Lawrenceburg would be really cool. So that's probably at the top from a wing car standpoint because that place just looks gnarly. Putnamville would probably be nuts. Putnamville would probably be crazy in a wing. I mean, all those places in a wing car would probably be really nuts. Kokomo. I mean, Indiana is just full of some really, really cool racetracks. So one day I'll get out there, and it'd be cool if they just had more wing races in general. I feel like they always put on a great show. One of the best all-star races I ever watched was Kokomo, maybe 2021. I think it was 2021. Really, really good race. You should go watch it. It's probably on Flow Racing. Hey, Tanner, would you ever run non-wing sprint cars? I touched on this a little bit earlier, but I would love to. I would love to. I just need to, I just need to get the courage up and take my wing off and figure out how to make the car go fast without it, without the fins on top and in front of me. Caleb said, I'd like to do the trackside experience June 10th at Southern Oregon Speedway. Definitely reach out to me. I think I maybe got your application. If you didn't fill out that application, would love to speak with you more and would love to fill up as many races this year on our trackside experience as possible with people in the local areas that, want to learn how to create content and get a little experience, what it's like being on a team and shooting all the stuff that we shoot. Casey Cody said, do you know any IMCA/UMP just open wheel modified drivers? If so, who is your favorite? So out here, I feel like we got a lot of IMCA modified racing. Modified racing in general is just really big. It's just more for me, it's a little confusing how there's all the different, there's IMCA, USMTS, and then UMP. I know, like in UMP, for example, Nick Hoffman is extremely good when he ran that. I saw him win a bunch of races. USMTS, I'm probably the least familiar with, but I know that's like seems like where modified guys are racing for a living and racing for a really good paycheck, which is awesome. I think it's great that all dirt racing is thriving. And then out here on IMCA, we have a lot of cars as well. And it's kind of none of the guys' names are on the tip of my tongue. I think Colin Weinberger. Barger, maybe is how you say his name. He's one of the guys I know for sure is really good out in this area. And there's some other guys in California that are really impressive, but there's just a lot of modified racing in general. And those guys get after it and put on a good race. So it's cool to see them, get to race for a little bit more money and have some bigger shows. I think like one of the races at my local track last year was like $7,000 to win. So that's really, really neat. Chance said, if you had to choose one track in Missouri, where would you run? And does Carly have a new paint scheme? Carly does have something that's similar to mine. So that's all I can really say for her. As far as tracks in Missouri, the hard part is I always forget about some of the places that, I've never ran before, never seen. I do love Lake Ozark, though. That's one of the few tracks I've ran in that state. And that place is just a great facility all around. So I'll probably say that. But I'm sure if I were to actually really think about it, there could be one that could be up there as well. But Lake Ozark is probably one of the most impressive in the state of Missouri for sure. Lightning McQueen said, that's funny saying that. Lightning McQueen said, Tanner, what do you think of the Gateway Dirt Nationals? Another one of those events that just two big thumbs up. Like they kill it with the event, they draw in fans, they put on a good show. It's exciting. There's drama. There's slide jobs like you can't believe. There's door banging. There's a nice track. So Gateway Dirt Nationals, I feel like from an event standpoint, is exactly what you'd dream of in dirt racing. And I'd love to race it one day, even in a late model or something, or who knows what. I think it's just cool how it's the gloves come off every time, and it's exciting to watch from the stands. And maybe that's why. Maybe it's better in the stands because it might be annoying and frustrating on track with what you got to do to win. Ken said, "Are you still a go to Lake Ozark?" The plan is to be at Lake Ozark. I believe it's July 26th or 27th, somewhere in there, whatever night they have with the All Star Circuit of Champions. We're planning on being there. Cash said it's huge here in Southern California. I'm 14 years old and race non-wing. We have like 5 Saturdays, race a day. That's very cool. Yeah, non-wing racing is bigger in Southern California, and they got CRA and West Coast, and I know they're always trying to draw as many cars as they can. And non-wing racing does put on a really good show, so it's very easy to see why there's such a big fan base, for it. Ooh, Mel just dropped a really good question. Have you got any of the new Hoosier tires yet? And when will you have them? Your thoughts on the new tire? I do not. I wish I did. Unfortunately, I think the local guys are gonna be, the last guys to get them. There was a dealer down in California that got some tires, so we have some on order. I don't think we might be getting them this next weekend. I think it is. So we tried to get as many of them as we could. But the new tires, I don't really know a whole lot about them. I mean, I know what they've been posting is how they are different, but I don't know how they're going to react on our cars. So I think it's going to be a big change. I'm sure our setups will be different, and we're just going to try to run out the tires that we have now as long as possible and then switch over. But at the same time, we want to switch over as soon as we can, if that makes sense. So like we have a small stash of the H tire, which is the old tire that everyone ran. We're going to run that here to start the season. And the second we can switch over basically and get rid of all of our old tires, we are going to, because we want to figure them out as soon as we can, of course, because that's like the new tire we have to be on. But we did think it would be dumb to just, obviously, you would never throw away tires, but even try to sell the tires that we had instead of just kind of running them to at least start the year for a little bit. But it will be, I guess, also, I should say, it's going to be interesting. From all the Outlaw guys, it seems like it's shaking things up, and it's they're just different. I do think the concept of the new tires, though, is cool. They're supposed to last a little bit longer. Hopefully you can flip them, make them work. And hopefully it's a trickle down effect too, is like, the Outlaw guys are running tires, they throw them away. Local guys can run those same tires that they throw off, because obviously they only run them for a night. And I think it's just a cool way for, things at the top to trickle down, and a little bit better than the tires before, maybe. Question. Hey, Tanner, what is your favorite Oregon coast track? Well, we only have one track on the coast. It's called Coos Bay Speedway. And the Coos Bay Speedway is really cool. I wish we got to run there a little bit more. It's kind of hit or miss sometimes, but really cool concept. And it's just, I don't know. It's an impressive place when it's good. So that's one of the racetracks that you're like, dang, I wish we had more wing races there, throughout the year. Someone asked, are you ever going to race at Jackson, Minnesota? That's another track I would really like to get to. Maybe one of these days. I know they have a big race there, I believe, right after the Knoxville Nationals. So never know. Maybe we'll stick around. Someone asked, would you race a flat cart if you could? Absolutely. I don't think my parents would love that because I know that they don't have seatbelts, but always down to give things a try. Chance said you should race at the Lucas Oil Hockett McMillan Memorial. I ran that in 2019. Would love to run it again. The Diamond of Dirt Tracks is a place like no other. It really is impressive. The racetrack, the facility, everything about it. So one of these years I'll get back to it. It's just now it's one of those things that goes back to the timing. Being in the the middle of September makes it tough to travel out that way. Did have a question come in from Austin. Thank you. $5 donation. He said, "Hey Tanner, hope to see you in PA in the future. Also, most of the locals here are on the new tire." That's good to hear. That's kind of what I figured. Most people are going to try to get on it as soon as they can. We're on the same boat. It is just difficult. The other factor, I guess I should have said, is like it's not like they're super readily available. So like it'd be dumb for us to switch just to that tire when we don't know how many of them we're going to be able to get. Like I think we just got I think the amount we got was like 12 tires total. You know, some we're talking like 6 left rears, 6 right rears, which don't get me wrong, last a good amount of time, but at the same time too, you know, you're going to mount up half of those just to have your stagger for the first night of racing. And so like you get what I'm meaning, like you're going to lose options quick. So it's hard to just switch over to those right away as much as we want to get on them as soon as we can. But that's kind of the game we're at. So I think as they're more available, we're going to get to them, you know, as soon as we possibly can. Darren said, agree with Austin. Yeah, the new tire is it's cool that they're doing it. I think I guess for the most part, and you know hopefully like I said it trickles down well. Jesse said, Tanner, we love to see you at English Creek. So if there's one outlaw kart race that there's potential I'll be there, it is the English Creek Kart Nationals because of when it falls. And if the car I'm hoping to drive for the race is there, I will be there, but no promises. But if there is a race that I could potentially be at in an outlaw kart, it would be that one. Oh, I just realized this whole time I keep saying Chance in his name, Chase Henderson. I apologize, Chase. I have a good friend named Chance, so that's probably why I mix that up so easily. Darren said, Tanner, why are you so hard on yourself with your race with the outlaw car when you get into someone you had not done what they would have done to you? You got screwed more than you did wrong. Hey, that could be true. I don't know. I think the outlaw kart stuff, the hard part about it, it's just like you want to do so well and you have high expectations for yourself. I've been racing outlaw karts for a long time, so I just always expect no mistakes, go for it. But you know, you can hold yourself to a perfect standard. You'll never reach that, and that's just how it goes. But I don't know. I think the thing about the outlaw cart is, like I said, I just want to win so badly, just like the sprint car. And since I've ran carts long enough, you know, now being more towards the top of the game, you know, you just like I said, you want to win every big event that you can. And sometimes those races aren't always, or you're not always in the same positions to win. So when you're in a good spot, you want to take advantage of it. And sometimes it goes good and sometimes it doesn't. But racing, you know, with factory QRC and those guys too, I feel like I just want to do the best for those guys and, you know, almost do better, more for them than myself. Cause I feel like I owe it to, you know, everything they've done to help me get to that point, if that makes sense. But it's always fun running with QRC. It's crazy, you know, the relationships you form in dirt racing and the people you meet and how they're now lifelong friends. And that's how I feel about those guys. So they always have my back and I will always have theirs. Another question came in. Tristan, any plans to run the midget this summer? Nothing at the moment. Unfortunately, I wish I had more plans to run the midget, but nothing at the moment. So that is that's kind of that as of right now. Cash said, I've never seen anywhere else race to the yellow besides Red Bluff. Yeah, they're probably one of the few that races to the yellow. Not many places race to the yellow. A lot of people would agree it's really dangerous. I mean, I don't think anyone can argue that it is dangerous, but it's just kind of how they do it. And nothing I can say or do will change that. So you just, if you sign up to race there, that's what you do. Action Jackson said, hey, Tanner, I raced micro in the A-class division in Indiana and placed 4th in points my rookie year. Hey, congratulations to you, man. Definitely keep it up and keep standing on the gas. Oh, I guess I realized where I answered that ahead of time. Mike was asking about the racing to the yellow thing. I think why they do it, it's just easier to score. When you have so many races to run, if you race to the yellow every time, it just scores it, right? Versus how much at Red Bluff passing happens. If you had to do the revert back, it would just take so much longer. Just my opinion. I think that's why they do it. You know, I'm kind of in the middle, whether I agree with it or don't agree with it. I like the racing to the yellow, but at the same time, I don't. So I don't know. It's just kind of, it just, like I said, it's one of those things, just is what it is. Doesn't matter what my opinion is because it doesn't really change it. Tanner, I was wondering if you saw my email about wanting to interview you. It's kind of odd, but you're pretty down to earth, successful person. Hey, I appreciate you saying that. Definitely. I will, I'll check my email and yeah, I always, for anybody watching, if you ever, I guess not to overload myself here, but if you ever have like a project or something, I've done plenty before answering questions, jumped on the phone with people. I never say no to jumping on someone's podcast and going on. I just want to do my best to help everyone out. And, I get to do something really cool. And I think I always tell people when they are reaching out to people, reaching out to other people, like when I'm giving advice, is like people love to talk about what they do and talk about themselves. So most will never say no to an interview or something for a school project or something like that. So I'm always available for stuff like that. Jeff said that's what Carly told me it would forever to get the outlaw cart races in. Yes, yeah. If we didn't race to the yellow, it would be we'd be there days upon days probably. Probably going to wrap this up here in just a little bit. We've been on for just over an hour. Thank you guys again so much. Keep dropping in questions, and I'll do my best to keep answering them. I don't know where my dad went. Looking here behind me at all the cars, still have the race on, or all the post race stuff on. But yeah, made a lot of progress today on cars. Before I went live, I was working on stuff in here with him, and it's so cool. The process of building race cars. As much as I was never a big shop guy my whole entire life, partly just because when I was a young kid, right? My dad wasn't into racing, so it's not like he was working on his race cars or anything like that. But even just I was never as naturally mechanically gifted, if that makes sense. uh, but I've definitely learned to love it more over the years in the process of building cars, even though it can be some of the most frustrating things you ever do. Like trying to put together a car sometimes and things don't fit and you got to re-drill this or that, or you repowder coat something and then none of the bolts will fit in the holes, just like little things, right? That you just pick up on or but yeah, it can be very frustrating, but man, it is really rewarding, especially when it's done. And you saw a car from a bare frame and then, a couple days later or in one day if you're crazy or something, to see it complete, sitting there race ready, and then roll off and fire on the track. I hate to say it as much as, sometimes it can be frustrating. It's pretty cool. Got a lot of questions rolling in. Bryce Moody said, I've been making sure to share your channel with all my friends and family to help you hit that 100 subscription goal. Thank you. Yeah, I know I haven't talked about it as much. I know I said at the beginning of the year, was hoping to hit 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year. If we get there, that would be awesome. If we don't, we're going to keep trucking along. But if you guys are new and have not subscribed, definitely think you should stick around for all the content we have here in 2023. A lot of cool stuff and things that we're working on. I'm a solo creator, but I have my whole family, and we all love what we do and stuff, and they all help in so many different ways. So this is my channel, but there's a lot of cool things happening, and a lot of my friends and our cars and everything going on, in front and behind the scenes. Steven said, show us the current state of the car. See, that's one, I'm on my computer, so I can't. I mean, maybe I could, but the stream might go haywire. But I don't want to show the car because if I would have filmed this any other way, you would have seen what the new design looked like. And I don't want to spoil it or leak it myself. That's no good. But no, we're going to shoot an unveiling tomorrow, hopefully, as long as the weather cooperates, I believe. And like I said, speaking of that right now, the sun was out. You probably saw the sun shining in this little window I have up here, and now I look outside and it's raining. So that's kind of what the Northwest is like right now. Lightning McQueen asked, "Hey, this is actually a really good question. Don't think I've ever said this. Who is your favorite late model driver?" And honestly, I probably don't have one that you know, comes to the tip of my tongue. I do feel like I enjoy watching Tim McCready. I think it's hard not to root for him. He's really, really good, and wins a lot of big races. And I feel like he's got a good personality. So big Tim McCready fan, and always enjoyed watching him win. Obviously, after the season Jonathan Davenport had last year, it's hard not to hop on the bandwagon either. Guy wins $2 million. That's pretty crazy. And he's going to be running the Bristol Dirt Race coming up. So I think we're all going to be Jonathan Davenport fans for that, hoping he does as well as he can. But yeah, so always been a big Tim McCready fan. Jessica Andrews said it's going to snow overnight. If you're referring to the Rogue Valley, you're probably right. I'm from the Rogue Valley, and yeah, like I said, the weather here is just crazy. Michael Noble said, besides winning, what is your favorite thing about a night at the races? I think one thing at the races that I think a lot of us don't realize that we probably do, but we don't really ever talk about is when it's all happening, and you realize it more when it's all said and done. But how it's kind of our escape from reality in like a good way, right? I think it's cool when we go racing, how we get into this mindset of like nothing else matters. And that's how it is driving the car. And I think that's even how it is as a crew member when you're there, when you're having fun, when you're watching the races. Like it's really cool that we just get away from everything, whether it's our problems or it's, what we have going on at home or, this or that, or, maybe if you're in school and you have this, when I was younger, I could have the biggest test. I wasn't even a big school kid as far as like, wanting to have the best grades ever. I always gave it my best shot. But like I could have the biggest test on Monday, 12-year-old kid. And if I was racing Saturday, that was out the window. I didn't even know nothing about it. So I think it's cool what that does for us. And I think now, especially as you get older and like I said, whether it's in your real life or you're younger or whatnot, like we all are there because we love the sport and it's our escape. It's so cool. It's great that we all have that and experience that each weekend. And we're all just focused on the same goal. If you're there competing and stuff, to win, to run well, to find speed, and just like the overall concept of building a race car, taking it to the track, trying to make a better setup, make it go faster. And we're all there doing it. That's what's cool about dirt racing. A lot of these operations are family owned or small race teams, and we're all just like, doing it together. And like I said, we're just doing what we can. Slayden asked, have you ever raced in North Dakota before? I have not. How long does it typically take to shoot a video from start to finish, race and shop? What's the hardest part? So I would say at the racetrack, it's just getting as many shots as you can before the races to get things prepared. So once the race night hits, you're ready to go. For me, I actually, people always will say like, man, it feels like you do, you probably do so much and whatnot. And definitely filming content is, but for me, it's actually a good distraction. Like it kind of keeps me in a good mindset, keeps me loose. Like I'm just doing my thing, like, right. So then when I hop in the race car, I'm ready to go. I think because sometimes my problem is I'm an overthinker. I overanalyze things. Instead of just going out there and just freaking standing on the gas and driving the car. So me shooting all the content stuff kind of I think allows me to get in that mindset more of just like all of a sudden I hop in the car, I grab the steering wheel, I'm like, all right, turn the car on, hit the gas and go race. So I think for me, in ways, it's very helpful, especially as you start moving up to these, higher situations, racing these bigger shows with the Outlaws, with the All Stars. Like it's very easy to mentally not win. Like you already are losing mentally. This sport is so mental. Confidence is such a big deal. So anything to do to keep that up, keep that out of your head is a good thing. Tristan said, "What would you be doing if you weren't currently in racing?" I don't know. That's a great question. I don't think about that too much. I think just because racing's been so much a part of my life, I don't know. I'm sure, being 100% honest, I probably would either quickly would have been working or I probably would have just went to school. I don't know what I would have done in school, but I think I probably would have found something. I just think for the most part, though, since I loved racing so much, I just blocked out anything else. Like even if I thought maybe I would like it, obviously you want to have those hobbies and those interests, but like I want to be a race car driver, so everything else does not matter. Is kind of how I always looked at it. But I'm sure I maybe would have went to school, went to community college. Never was big into wanting to move away to a university or go to a big school and do all that, but probably would have just quietly went to community college and wanted to learn about something and then maybe transfer that into somewhere where I could get a 4-year degree or maybe. But like I said, also school was never 100% my thing, so really really hard to say. But if racing was not an option, let's see. Darren said, "Why does it appear that since you're in a factory cart that people run you rougher than it would be if you're in the Black Homes cart?" Yeah, I'm not sure if that's true or not. It's very possible. I think at Red Bluff and all the kart stuff, the racing can just get so rough sometimes, and then sometimes it's so good. I always say that kart racing is like the biggest hidden gem you might ever find. Like if you watch a really good kart race, you'll think these are the coolest things you've ever seen. And if you watch a bad night, you're like, I might never watch again. So you just never really know. But when you do watch a good race, like man, in my opinion, it's almost like watching midgets. Midget racing, when it's good, is really, really good. And when it's bad, it's really, really bad. And it's a crash fest. It's kind of the same thing. I think that the midgets are just bigger outlaw carts. But that's also just my personal opinion. So, and a lot of it too, you got to have good track surfaces. Carts really need a good track surface. Otherwise, they can't really put on a good show. But with the right conditions, I've been in a part of some really good kart races. Bryce Moody said, "I'll give you a $50 super chat for a sneak peek of the car here in the fans for the live feed." Shoot, man. I hate to say it, I can't be bribed. I don't think I gotta hold my guns here. Um, tomorrow is when I'm filming the video. You guys be ready. I'm filming the video tomorrow. And I hope you are surprised with our look. Might be a little bit different than what you're expecting. I had a comment, "Hey Tanner, I'm probably one of your biggest fans. You've inspired me to run micro sprints." That's awesome. Whatever you guys are racing, you should keep grinding at that. Keep going after it. Racing is such a tough sport. We kind of talked about it here a second ago. Mentally, physically, everything drains your pocketbook, drains your checkbook, whatever it is. You show up with $120 at the races and you leave with -3. It's a crazy sport, but you need to keep going. And if this is what you love, just keep on trucking. I had a question. What is your favorite soda? That's actually an interesting one. So I actually try not to drink a lot of soda. It's not to sound like a health nut or anything, but I try to be on the healthier side of things by just cutting out something simple like that. But when I do, it's usually just Pepsi or Sprite or like cherry Pepsi or cherry Coke, something anything with cherries usually pretty good. Some people would think that's gross, but yeah, it's hard to go wrong with just a Sprite or a Pepsi. Very, very simple. But yeah, for the most part, try not to drink soda. Good. Joel jumped in here. He just said, just want to say hello. Hello, Joel. Thank you for jumping in. We're a little over an hour into the stream here. And like I said, I appreciate you guys. If you have more questions, keep them coming. We'll finish up here in just a little bit. Cash said, you made me fall in love with Outlaw carts and you won a 250 local championship your first year. Congratulations, dude. It's not easy to win championships. I think a lot of people, don't you don't understand how hard it is to put together a whole season. Kenneth said, we lost our racetrack here in Hawaii. I hope we get something new soon. Kenneth, I'd be interested. What track was that? I did know of one track on the Big Island, I think it was. The whole deal in Hawaii is interesting that you guys race over there. And yeah, it's really, really neat that you guys do that. And I heard that you only get to race once a month because it takes so long to ship parts over after people crash stuff or something like that. Really, really cool though. Hopefully you get something back going. Bryce said $100 super chat final offer. Man, I don't know. I'm gonna have to, like I said, I have to stick to my guns here. I would love to, and man, $100, man, that sounds great, but have to wait, have to wait. Darren said, hope Carly is doing well, back wise. Well, will she be racing sprints this year? And if so, what division? Yeah, she'll be running the 360 stuff. Yeah, that's the plan. She's gonna run 360 stuff, maybe a little bit of limited stuff if we end up with a limited engine, but right now we don't have any of that. So yeah, right now just some 360 races in the Northwest. Someone said I'll drop a 200. I mean, man, we're gonna have to talk some really, really big numbers. I think if you guys want me to turn this thing around and show the car, and but no, I think for the most part, the reveal video is gonna be really good. So I can't wait, and I think you all be pretty surprised. Everyone's saying can't wait to see the reveal video. It's gonna be good. Steven asked, what track are you most excited to get to this year and your thoughts on the high limit deal? So this year, I think there's a lot of races that I've circled on the list, right? A lot of races circled on the list, excited to get to. One of them being Dirt Cup, all the stuff up at Skagit. I feel like that's a track that we have a lot of laps at, and that we can, I think we can shine. And then also all of our races at the Southern Oregon Speedway, good local track for us. We've won races there before. We've done a lot of good things. And then, I mean, as far as the Midwest, I think it's hard to ignore Knoxville, and getting there. And then any of the tracks that we've been to before. I know Lakeside Speedway, I-70, 34 Raceway. Those are three tracks I've been to one time before, and how impressive it is, or how different things can go when you've been to a racetrack and ran there one time. So when you're going to new places all the time, it's really difficult to be fast, get up to speed. But when when you have a little experience, have a little bit of a notebook, how quickly you can you can get going, and have a much better shot against the all stars, the outlaws, and stuff like that. So I think anywhere we've been to before, it's always exciting. But Southern Oregon Speedway in our backyard, Skagit Speedway for our West Coast big race with Dirt Cup, and then Knoxville Nationals, one, of course, who wouldn't have that circled, and then some of the other tracks that we've been to back there. Terry said, who will be your setup guy for this year in the sprint car? Yeah, so we have Brian Crockett as my crew chief. He has been setting up the 18T, and we got going really well at the end of last year. So really, really excited to have Brian back, and he's such a legend in the area out here, in Placerville. I think the winningest driver in Placerville history. So Brian's a good guy to have on your side. We got a $20 donation for holding your guns, Eric. Thank you so much, dude. Appreciate that. All that supports the sprint car team. Gonna be wrapping up here in a second. I just got a text actually from my father that dinner is gonna be ready. I'm having dinner with my grandparents tonight, so I'm gonna get going here in just a second. So send in your last couple of questions. I really do appreciate doing this. This is fun. I really love answering your questions. I love being here with the community and whatnot, and what we have with THR, and it's a great way to kind of start our season. If you're wondering when our season starts, if you did not hear earlier, the plan is to do it this Friday at the Ocean Speedway down in Watsonville, California, and then Saturday at the King Speedway with King of the West 410 NARC Series for $10,000 for the Anthony Simone Classic. Chad said, Tanner, what you do for us fans is appreciated. No, thank you guys. Absolutely. Someone asked, how are you going to pick to do the trackside experience? Basically, with the trackside experience, if you're in that area that I'm going to be at, uh, it's in some way, shape, or form, I'm going to reach out to you guys ahead of time and try to contact you and get you to the racetrack. And, just if you're in that area on those weekends, if that makes sense, that's kind of how we're going to do it. So, like, if you put on your application that you're from Tulare and we're going to Tulare that weekend, there's a chance that you might get reached out to and you come to the track that weekend and you can help out. Bryce said, Bryce dropped a $50 donation because you're awesome. Thank you, Bryce. Appreciate it. Can't wait to see you guys this year. Can't wait to see all you fans. Never forget that if you guys are at a race and we're there, our team, my sister, my mom, shoot, if you stop and talk to my mom, you guys are in for a conversation. Know that. So be ready to talk if you stop and talk to my mother. But any of us, you see us at the racetrack, say hi, introduce yourself. Like, it's not weird. Don't feel like we are big time people. Like, just come straight up and talk to us. I will say during the race night, now from like the beginning of hot laps to the A main event, have I would say have respect. I don't mean how that sounds, but that's not a great time. But I'm saying like way before the races start, come up and talk to us. And then, of course, after, come and speak with us. Just during the races, obviously things are chaotic and we're filming video stuff and we're racing. We're trying to get our car better. So that's a little different. But any other time, you see us in the sign-in line, come up, shake our hands, say hi. Would love to meet you all. And definitely if we're doing any throughout the Midwest this year, I think when we go, we're hoping to have some time we're going to get to spend with fans. And like in Knoxville, for example, there's a big parking lot that everyone parks in. Like, if we're there working on the car, walk up, speak with us. We'd love to meet you all. My good friend Bill said, what's Gooch up to? My good friend Bennett. Bennett has been working down in Northern California. I've been working on the dwarf car, seen him a lot as we've been going down there for Red Bluff. But he's just working on his own racing schedule, and we're the bestest of friends. I love that kid to death. It's we've been friends for life. So love seeing him succeed, and happy that he's really got the chance to work on his racing program. Think this, guys, is probably going to wrap up the stream. I appreciate everyone. I'm sorry I did not get to everyone's questions. Probably going to do maybe another one of these soon for you to jump on, or maybe through the year, or try to go live more here on the YouTube channel. I really do appreciate all of you, and this is always a fun thing. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you for everyone that donated. That definitely supports the team, and we're looking forward to kicking off 2023 with a big weekend down in the Bay Area, in California, in the Central Valley, and then hopefully getting things started in the Northwest, and 2 weeks at the Douglas County Speedway. And then we have a couple more tracks, and things are going to start warming up. Weather's going to be good, and it's going to be a blast. So thank you all. Thank you. This was fun. Best of luck to all the racers in the chat, to all the fans. Have a great season. Go to as many dirt races as possible and keep supporting the sport. We're going to keep supporting you, and we're all in this together. Thank you, guys.